Pritiji, welcome to the Offshore Accountant podcast.
Thank you, Sushil.
Thank you
Super
very much.
excited to be here.
Thank you very much for accepting my invitation here, and I'm looking forward to having this conversation because, as you know, LinkedIn helps grow your network, right? Professional network, and it helps your growth in your career, in your business. But most among myself do not know how to go about playing the LinkedIn game.
Of course.
So first, why don't we start with why LinkedIn?
I mean, LinkedIn is just like any other social media, right? I think, if you talk about people using different social media channels, more people are comfortable with Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok, right? One big reason, not just in Nepal, but around the world, that a lot of people haven't used LinkedIn is because it's primarily for professionals. So in the beginning, a lot of people would have LinkedIn accounts just to update their, if they had got a new job, they would, update it, or if they were looking for a job, that was the place where they would look for opportunities. But I think with time, it's evolved in how people use it and how you can really use it well.
Right. Like you said, when I look back to my own LinkedIn profile, I think I made my LinkedIn profile in 2011, right? So it's been more than 13 years.
Right.
And I'd not done anything. LinkedIn was just a sort of a job board where you go and look for jobs and just hit apply, and that was it. And it was not used as a social media platform. Right. And now the LinkedIn has evolved. The people have also understood the value of LinkedIn. And someone who is currently beginning, right, as a beginner, they may have a profile. They have made a profile for quite a long time, or if they have not made a profile, what is the first thing when we think about being in LinkedIn? What is the first thing that one should start with?
Sure. I think there's about maybe 5 different things. We call it the basics of LinkedIn or LinkedIn 101, right? And these are things that I think all of us sort of have heard of, but not many people have done it, right? Because like you said, a lot of people don't have LinkedIn accounts, or if they do, it's just there, right? They might even use it to stalk other people or look for jobs, but they don't use it actively. So in terms of the 5 really, really important things, one is headshot, right? A picture, right? And sometimes I think when we're not actively looking for a job, we think that's not even needed, right? But it differentiates you from a bot, right? Why would somebody connect with Sushil instead of a random faceless person, right? So I think everything in terms of LinkedIn I think everything in 2024 is about showing your uniqueness, your humanity, I guess, right? So that headshot is super important. In that case, I think there's good ways to do it and bad ways, right? Good ways is having a professional picture, but maybe it's also about breaking some rules, right? So just as an example, the headshots, if you see mine, I'm always smiling, right? Traditionally, when you thought about professional behavior or professional life, you always thought of, okay, dark colors, super serious face, you're not supposed to smile, but I think it's also important to show your personality. What I wouldn't recommend people doing on LinkedIn is have selfies, and you see so many people doing it, right? Or have pictures with your kids or pets, right? As much as we love them, I don't think that's the place, right? So headshot is one. Number 2, I think super ignored is it's called a cover image. I don't know if you have a cover image or not.
I do.
Right? So cover image basically is if somebody lands on your profile, what apart from your profile picture, what do they see on the background, right? So something that is super precious real estate, and you can use it for whatever, right? You can, if you provide any services, you can provide that, or if you work for a company, you can have the logo, anything like that. So for me, my cover image is the Great Nepali Diaspora. And every time people see my profile, it starts a conversation. Everybody's like, okay, what is that? And it starts off that conversation. Number 3 is a headline. right? Because most people actually just have their, the title. If they're working somewhere, they'll say manager, some in the company name, right? Which doesn't really mean anything. A headline can be that, everybody has such short attention span that it's so important that when they see it, they know what you are about, right? So, and I'm going to give my example a lot, but if people go to my profile, they know that I'm all about community and startups and venture capital and women empowerment. Those are things that are important to me. They might not all be work related, but they're things I'm passionate about. So people know what to reach out to me for, right? So similarly, people can do that. What I see a lot of people doing is almost writing this almost like a paragraph, 2 sentence long headline, right? Passionate about helping this, like, which does not mean anything. So keeping it short and simple. I think the fourth one is LinkedIn allows you to have a unique URL. Right? Which means that it's something like linkedin.com/your name. Right? But the default isn't that. So for a lot of new people, they might have an account, but theirs is linkedin.com/00, like all kinds of things, right? And which means that if they give if they say, oh, connect to me on LinkedIn, everybody's going to get confused. They will not get your profile, right? Which means that it's a loss, right? So there's a very simple way to update it. Under settings, you can just update it, but that's it. And I think the last point is a summary, right? So which is just below your pictures and so on, where you can summarize your skills, your experience, and so on. One homework that I always assign people is taking the time to actually make your profile complete. Right? Because if you're already creating an account, an incomplete account is like it's like a house that's just has a structure, nothing there, right? Which is useless, right? But if you fill it with information, you never know who's going to see it. You never know what kind of opportunities come from there.
So your LinkedIn profile is your personality, and you want to show your personality,
of course,
who you are with your professional headshot, smiling, because a smile always attracts people.
Of course.
And then what you do with your background image and your services page, or the details, or the summary page, and the headlines, right?
Exactly.
So if you are commenting in someone, how do people find you? Is they find you through your first post, or you have commented on someone else and they see a small headshot of you, your name, and your headline, what you represent, right? So first, these things are important, and when they are intrigued to see who this person is, then they go into the profile, and now you have to show your personality, and you should not hold back to show your personality. But there's always showing personality doesn't mean it should also be professional. It doesn't mean that
it should be professional. And it's, I think, also, like, people have to figure out what works for them, right? There is no rule, so to speak, in terms of what is now considered sort of personal or professional, especially after COVID, right? After COVID, a lot of us are so used to sharing a little bit more about family, about our personal lives, and that's okay, right? But where do you draw the line? What sort of, is your boundary? You have to figure that out.
Right. So showing personality doesn't mean showing everything about you. A person has different personality, not just one. Maybe I'm a cat person, but I do not need to show a picture of me with a cat in my profile.
I mean, you can. I mean, not in your profile picture, but why wouldn't you put, if that's a big part of who you are, why wouldn't you just have a post with your cat? You know what I mean? So it's one advice in general for people on social media that I have, whether it's LinkedIn or anything else, is I think we're so bogged down by the results. Right? We're like, oh my God, I want to be an influencer on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or whatever, right? So I think that drives what we do. So we're like, oh my God, we need to post this many times. We need to have this kind of post. We need to craft like this post has to be a beginning, end, and body, and so many rules, right? My advice is it has to be authentic, right? A part of you, you don't have to showcase 100% of who you are, but maybe 70% of who you are, and frame it in the right way. But I don't think you should just be chasing followers and numbers, right? Because it's a long game.
Right. So LinkedIn is traditionally thought as a professional network, a professional social media. It is still a professional social media, but it has evolved quite a bit.
Of course.
But someone just getting in, they see professional posts talking about their work, but also talking about their families and friends, and they tend to get confused whether I've landed in Facebook, whether I've landed in LinkedIn, or is it Instagram, and that sort of confuses the newcomers, right? And they do not understand what they should do in LinkedIn.
Right.
And LinkedIn has also now been pushing a lot of these type of things that are quite people are used to in other social medias. It is not now just a professional network, but also making friends as much as you make friends in Instagram or Facebook, right? So the newcomers that are coming in look at that, and someone thinks where I have landed and what should I do. So okay, we have talked about 5 things you should do. You should have a good first profile picture of you. You should have your banner of what you are doing. If you are doing some business, then talk about business in that small landscape picture that you can put. And you have your headlines, and you have your summaries, and you can customize your link so that if you want someone to come and join you, you can help them give the link, and the link clearly states your name so that they can get in. Now they see all these stuff happening, all the posts happening. And if I'm someone that is just starting out, what should I look to post? What should my post be about?
That's a very personal question, right? In terms of what people should post about. One thing is for sure, I think people overthink what they should post about, right? I think it's true in general with people, but it's the overthinking is even worse for Asians, Nepalis, women, right? Because we want our post to be perfect, right? We're like, oh my God, out of millions of people, who will look at my post? Am I going to sound stupid? And all of that, right? My suggestion to somebody that's starting out is it can be so simple, right? For example, there's so many events happening in Kathmandu or around the world, right? Your relevant topic. Maybe you attended one, right? An easy first post could be, what you learned from that event. Who did you meet? And it can be, it doesn't have to be an essay. It can just be a paragraph. It can just be a photo with, a small caption, right? I think the more important thing is to get started. Right? I think, if you talk to a lot of people that already have LinkedIn accounts, the biggest hurdle is the first post. Right? Because I know so many of my friends and so many of my contacts that have spent days, if not weeks, thinking of the first post, right? They're so afraid. They're like, oh my God, is it a good post? They're like constantly revising it. And then once the first post goes out, then it's so much easier. Right? So for, again, to your question, the advice is just pick something simple. It can be just a good week you had at work, something you learned at school, something that's so basic that you might even just have a conversation with a friend. Right?
Just get started. Is
Just
what
get
you want to
started,
say. Just get started. Just post. And if the response is a bit different than what you expected, or if there are negative responses, then you go to second post and third, and you figure out what works for you.
Right.
You talk about your whatever happening in your life, personal life, but also what is happening in your professional life. Because at the end of the day, it is a professional network, and you want to be known for your profession, what you do, but also as an individual, you want to show that individual side of you.
Course.
And that means posting about your day, posting about your week, posting about the events that you visited,
Right.
but also being quite mindful about it, because you do not want to be too personal, you do not want to be too professional as well, a mix of both.
A mix, and I think it's all about experimenting, right? In terms of, what I wouldn't recommend is people trying to post too personal because they want to get views, right? Or too funny because they want to, not just be professional, but they want to be taken, people to like them, right? I think with the posting or with having this reach on Instagram, one thing is super important is your first post is hardly going to be viral. Right. So if people, for example, somebody posts, right, and nobody, maybe one person likes it. It does not mean that person needs to stop. It means that they need to continue. It's not going to, nothing happens. Nothing that's amazing is going to happen overnight. There is no overnight success, right? So I think the advice for people is to start small and take baby steps, but understand that it is going to be a marathon, right? Creating a brand, creating that reach on any social media is going to take consistent work. Right. So they can't be discouraged by, if nobody likes it, or if somebody gives them a negative comment. It does not mean they stop. It means that, they need to continue the work. Right.
So the first thing, posting, and what I see in other social medias is everyone wants to be a creator, and it is creator led. But in LinkedIn, what I like is it is more engagement based, right? So commenting, if you have a profile in LinkedIn, playing the LinkedIn game is not just about posting, but also commenting, right? The more you comment, the better you comment. The better engagement on your posts, the more profile views you get. So is there a good way to comment, and what should you focus more on? Should you be focusing more on posting about yourself, your business, your professional life, or going and engaging with others who are posting in LinkedIn?
I mean, there is a LinkedIn game, but my suggestion is not playing the game for playing the game. You know what I mean, right? Because what that means is, again, if you're posting just because you want that end result, or you're commenting just because you want to hit that algorithm, right? What it means is your posts are going to be just okay. Right. Or your comments are just going to be, oh, great comments or great insights or something like that, right? It is not intentional. What really, really works, and actually which aligns with the algorithm, the LinkedIn algorithm, is when you have that one, you have an open mind, and two, you want to learn. So when you're genuinely on the platform, of course, for all of us, we want to do well in life. We want our business to happen in terms of, new business to come in. We want to get popularity, whatever it is, right? We all have those end goals, right? But when you're there, when you're using social media, if you also are there to learn, to contribute, without thinking about, okay, if I comment here, am I going to get more followers? Instead of that, if you see a post that genuinely is relatable to you, wherever it is, somebody maybe have posted something personal, maybe it's professional, doesn't even matter, right? If it relates to you, if you have a question about it, whatever it is, it makes sense to comment, and the engagement then becomes very organic, and then that's what the algorithm also likes, right? I think there's at this time, I think we can all detect when it's shallow and fake versus something that's a little bit authentic, right? So you play the game without sort of playing the game. You just, does that make sense?
Right. So you are not commenting just for the sake of putting in the comment, but when you go in and look at someone else's post, you read what they are talking about. If there are pictures, you actually look at them, and what emotions or what questions that comes into your mind, you go and keep those comments there, not just
random comments, right?
Not just looking at I have to do 20 comments today, so I'm looking at 20 posts in front of me and just going, good, well done, and those sort of things.
Right, right. Exactly. And I think one really, really positive way LinkedIn differs from other social media is I think because it's a professional platform, people are almost forced to stay a little professional, right? Because if you, for example, look at Instagram and Facebook, and sometimes the comments people give are so harsh, right? So negative, so harsh, and so mean. Right? You don't really see that on LinkedIn. Occasionally, I've had people write a little mean things, but compared to Twitter or Instagram, it's nothing, right? So one good thing is I think the professionality of the platform actually affects all of us. So we sort of put our best behavior. But like we said, right, I think it's just better to also add value when you comment.
Right. And what I like about LinkedIn is it is focused on making connections. Yes, you can follow without connecting with the person, but the major focus is connecting, right? When we talk about us two, we were also connected through LinkedIn. I got to know you, what you do, and we connected, and we've been engaging quite a bit. And so that has connection of just clicking, right? The connection, one thing is hitting in the algorithm, you are connected, the names are connected, but a relationship you have to develop over time. And so that connection in reality becomes a slow process, but also slow and takes a lot of time. But if you're not playing the game, you like the person, you want to learn about what they do and what they are up to, and you want to engage with them, then that connection builds, and maybe down the line, maybe there would be opportunities that you could share with each other.
Of course.
But the first thing is connections. And so what I want to segue with this is to DMs, right? So messaging, direct messaging in LinkedIn. What I also quite often get after just I connect with people is I get DMs, and people are directly asking for either talking about jobs, right? Directly looking for opportunities without actually trying to understand the people and trying to showcase who they are. But directly looking for opportunity. And that one thing I do not like about LinkedIn is you can reach people very easily, but that is not reaching out in personal level, but just spamming or trying
very
to get
salesy,
So is there a right way to message people?
There is. So in terms of, I mean, now it's been a while since I've, started LinkedIn and, been on LinkedIn for a while. So I don't think until now, just in terms of how people have responded, I don't think there's ever been somebody that's not accepted my request, or if I've requested something, they've said no, right? Which is pretty incredible, and I think I'm so grateful to people that continue to do that. In terms of right way or not, one is when you send a connection request, you should definitely add a line, right? The mistake a lot of people do is adding a paragraph or like 2 paragraphs about, oh my God, like I'm this, I'm so interested in this. Like nobody has time to read that, right? And it's just a waste of your time more than anything else, right? So my request to everybody is send a line, for example, if you met somebody at, I don't know, some event, right? You just say, oh, like, it was nice to meet you at this event, right? What it starts doing is it's a nice courtesy because it helps the other people remember you as well, right? And two, over time, especially as you get thousands of people connected, it also is a good reminder for you where you met this person, or like maybe you haven't even met in person, but where you interacted, or what is your sort of link, right? So it's I'm really, really good at organizing. In general, I think that's been a strength. So for me, I think of that kind of thing, right? So the reason you actually put a line is so that over time it actually is a good. It's easy for you to search people and all of that, right? So a very short, I guess, message works. With your phone, one issue that always happens, it's so easy to just click connect. You don't have to add something, right? But even after you send that, you can send in a quick note. That doesn't take even a minute. So I would recommend people do that. One trick that I used like ages ago, but I think it's still relevant, and I usually teach people this um, is I usually would occasionally, I haven't done that for a while, but this is like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, where I would consciously make a mistake when I sent a message, right? The first connection message, like it would be a spelling mistake, right? And they it would once that's connected, I would send that message, and then I would send another one, a very quick one. Oh, I'm so sorry, I was typing in a rush. That's why the mistake, right? Which shows people that I'm a human, not a bot, right? It's not an automated message. I was just typing on my phone. And it's such a good. I've never so far had anybody that's been like, oh my god, you're so stupid, you sent a message with a spelling mistake. They're like, oh my god, it's so completely fine, don't worry about it. And it actually starts off the relationship in such a nice, funny way, right? So not everybody again has to make the same mistake or have a spelling mistake, but the idea is, how do you show your uniqueness or humanity, or I don't know, right?
And the artificial intelligence has come so far that people, when they are sending DMs, when they are commenting, they let AI do all the things. And what I notice myself doing is actually looking for mistakes, right? Is this a real human that is talking? The way it's been written, okay, it is grammatically correct, but a comment or a message sent by an AI would be quite different from how a person would actually speak or write. So now I think more than ever we do try and seek those mistakes, and the AI, what AI has done is made people more conscious about making human connections. And those trying to play the LinkedIn game with AI, it is now easier for people to understand that those are fake connections. Those are not really trying to connect with you on a personal level, but just looking to get something from you, right? And so this is, I think, a track that people, whenever I see posts and comments, I find is that now people are more craving for those connections, and it is very easy to stand out also, because where there are lots of comments done by AI, if you give a meaningful personal comments or a message, then you will stand out and people will remember you and engage with you.
Of course, no, that's so true. But one thing is, now there are incredible AI tools, right? That people, if you know them, I think a lot of people should know them. It's, in terms of efficiency and so on, they're incredible, right? But, just as an example, you could use ChatGPT to come up with a post, right? But even considering the people in this room right now, if the same post, we just copy paste, the four of us post it, the engagement is going to be so different. Right? What does that tell you? It tells you not just in terms of how many followers I have versus you. It also tells you in terms of the engagement or interaction of a post is not just the post. It's the network you've built. Right? So in terms of the post is just one factor, right? Like you were talking about in terms of whether it's DMs, whether it's commenting, the whole point is to build a network, but not just a network that's that's saying that, oh my god, I have 5,000 friends on Facebook, I have 2,000 followers on LinkedIn, but it's like, out of that, am I engaging with people regularly? Do people really know what I do? Or can I collaborate with people in my network and so on, right? So your post eventually, or any activity eventually, becomes just one factor, right? It doesn't even matter what you post about, in a way.
So followers or the reach, they can be vanity metrics.
Of course.
But what network you have actually built, what personal connections that you have built is a different thing than the reach that you're getting, or the number of connections you have on the numbers that shows on in your profile. It could be quite different. People might have hundreds of thousands of followers, but if they are not engaging, if their followers are not engaging, then those sort of followers would just be vanity metrics, and you do not want that. And what I've seen is people with 100, 200, 500 connections, they post,
Right.
but their engagement, the people that are interacting with them, right, and the people that see them outside
Right.
of their network is also quite huge, even if they are not being followed,
Right.
right? So we should also not get bogged down with the vanity metrics, with
Right.
metrics that are good to look at, but actually don't do things.
Of course.
And in LinkedIn, what I also think is, what is the result that you get from your followers, from your
Right.
connections? Are you actually being able to, interact with them?
Right.
If you have a professional connection, right? Let's say as an accountant, I have some questions that I might want to ask someone who is expert in some other field, who is in my connection, and if I can send in DMs and ask whether or not will I get answer, right? Whether will or not they will engage with me,
Right.
versus having 10,000 followers, you send in DMs with genuine questions, but
Right.
you do not get a written
Exactly.
answer.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So those depend on, okay, there is algorithm, LinkedIn algorithm.
Right.
You should also think about followers and the reach,
Right,
but
right.
also whether the connection is actually genuine and whether you are able to connect on that not just personal level but also
Right.
professional level.
No, no, of course. That matters so much. So, right, like you're saying, the quantity and also the quality actually really matters, right? One thing I love is, and I've shared this story before, one of the things that actually makes me happy is there was a Nepali tech company,
Right.
and they shared their strategy, part of their strategy document with me, right? So in terms of in their strategy, some things that they should be doing
Right.
in terms of marketing and so on was, one was asking me to post about them. Right. Which is such a nice thing, right? Which means that they actually, for a normal company that where they're maybe focused on Google ads or Facebook ads and so on, they also think that me just genuinely posting about a company or a person might actually have similar impact, right? Which is really great. And I think, like you said, it's the numbers are just nice to look at, nice to feel, but in the end, it also matters, what kind of conversations you're having, right?
Right. So these are the, you being present in LinkedIn, commenting, posting, making connections. But what is the end goal? Right. We should also be thinking, because LinkedIn, we should look at it a little bit strategically as well.
Yeah.
Because when you are in LinkedIn, you want to grow your network, so that from that network you'll get opportunities. Maybe you are looking opportunities for your business or for a professional career as well. So what is the end goal for someone who wants to be in LinkedIn?
The person needs to define it in terms of what they're trying to get out of it, right? Is it, I mean, one thing is for sure, right? I think at this point, we have to think in terms of a career, not a job. Right. And LinkedIn allows you to do that, right? So over time, the different jobs you'll have, the different schools you'll go to, it becomes your own personal database, so to speak, right? And at different phases of different people, they might have different end results in mind. One might be visibility, so that a better company actually gives them an offer, right? Another could be where they're trying to collaborate on a deal. So there can be short-term and long-term sort of goals in terms of what they're looking for. When I was just starting out with LinkedIn, maybe I had goals like, okay, I'm going to have this many connections, or I'm going to try to do this much, things like that. But again, it's I think people need to sort of have those kind of outcomes. But I would suggest having long-term and short-term sort of goals, right? And I think so I mean, use LinkedIn almost like a marketing funnel as well.
Right. And so when you are posting or engaging, like you said, you can use it as a marketing funnel. So should we also be looking at posting about our services that we provide, or things in our career or expertise that we have, so that someone who is looking to get that expertise or who is looking to get those services can see you around?
Of course.
right?
Of course.
And then maybe because they are seeing you around and continuously looking at you,
Right.
they understand that you do have expertise.
Right. Right.
And so when you are present and you are present in LinkedIn, it's a marketplace, right?
Right.
It's
And
a
it's all about brand recognition, right? Like for example, if you go to a supermarket and you look at all the shampoos there, you'll probably choose one that you recognize, right? Out of hundreds of brands. It's the same with people as well, right? There might be so many accounting firms, there might be so many anything, right? Doctors, lawyers, it could be anything, right? But what LinkedIn or building your brand gives you is that recognition, right? People are like, oh, I've seen, something about, this positive news about this person. I know this person worked on this or whatever it is. I think in today's world, what I, tell people all the time is it's not just important to do your job or do your work. It's really also important to talk about your work, right? Because that's super important. If you don't advocate for yourself, who else is going to do that, right? And I think that sort of over time it builds that momentum.
Right. In the last session, I think it was earlier in this year, we were in a same session where you were giving a workshop in LinkedIn, and we talked about advocating for ourselves, right? And what my question was, and I want to repeat that question again for the audience, is it's always hard to advocate for yourself. It kind of feels like you're trying to get attention from people.
Right.
And it tends to feel dirty some sorts, right? And so how can you, because it is right that we should advocate for ourselves, right? That is a given. You should advocate, otherwise all others won't. You will need to advocate. But how do you get rid of that notion in your head that you think, I don't want to do it, it's quite dirty, someone else should talk about me, I should not talk about myself. So how can someone get out of that notion from their heads?
Sure, it's a very Asian thing, and I think, like I said, Asian Nepali thing, and it's worse for women, right? The reason I think for me, again, it was not that comfortable to talk about myself. There are not too many Nepali people on LinkedIn in terms of really public, and there's hardly Nepali women on LinkedIn that are public, right? So that's almost like a journey in terms of figuring that out, what sort of works and all of that. I mean, for me, I think this is the life I've chosen, right? Especially with the Great Nepali Diaspora and building a community and so on. I am almost bringing people together, and I'm doing that in public, right? So for me, I think it's all about not just writing about building a community, but showing people how to build a community, right? So if anybody sees my activity, it's a lot of meeting people, it's a lot of bringing people together, it's a lot of highlighting people. So I think it's about figuring out, when you advocate for yourself, you're not just saying, oh my God, I'm the best in the world. You're also saying, I'm the best maybe because of what I do, right? At this point, when I talk about community building and really elevating Nepalis and Nepal, everybody can see that I do that. I work harder than anybody else I know, right? So that sort of gives me the confidence, right? So even for people, when they're talking about themselves, the reason we feel this kind of there's actually, I feel like there's a few reasons. One is traditionally, right? Traditionally we I think the older generation used to ask a lot of questions, and we sort of shy away from that attention, right? We're taught that you're only good if somebody else says you're good. You're not good if you have to talk about yourself, right? But that's not the world we live in, right? I think and a lot of things, a lot of incredible big decisions, opportunities are floating in the world. If you're not showcasing yourself, you will never get it, right? So I think there's practical reasons why you should be advocating for yourself. But I think to your point, it's not comfortable, it's not easy, but you can take baby steps, right? I think the harder thing for people is going 100% in the beginning and being like, oh my God, I feel so exposed. Right. I think the reason we talk about these baby steps and talking a little bit about, the kind of services you provide or your expertise is you do need to sort of step into the light, but very slowly. Right.
Right. And also, first we have to understand that if there are two people with similar kind of expertise,
Right.
But one people know about from LinkedIn or from Facebook or some other areas. Others maybe a slightly better expert in that particular field, but no one knows about it.
Right.
Who's going to get the job?
Right.
So the one who people notice,
Right.
who talks about himself, right? So, and also when we talk about my own business as well, and when we talk some years down the line, the world has gone global. And now we need to fight for business, fight for career, not just in our own local country, but also with the others in the world. And like you said, Asians are quite shy and they do not want to expose themselves to the outer world. But others in the West, they are doing it.
Of course.
Right? And now the work is now currently slowly being remote, and anyone from any part of the world can vie for that role.
Right.
So we have to advocate for ourselves.
Of course.
If we do not, then some other people from some other country will get the job and will, even though we have expertise, will not be able to get the job and advance in our career.
No, that's so true. And I think, just as an example, Nepal has so many outsourcing companies in different fields, right? But technical expertise is one thing, but, interpersonal communication is super, super important, right? As you said, it's a global world. So you need to also interact with people from all over the world, which includes talking about why you should get this project versus this other person. You should have that confidence to ask questions of people, maybe your clients that are based in the US or Europe, right? So all of this is linked in that way, right? I think my experience with people in Nepal and has also been in that, right? While we might know the subject really well, we're so we really understand it, right? But because we don't have the confidence, or because we're overthinking it, right? We're like, maybe you know the content better than your boss does, who's outside Nepal, right? But if you can't even point that out, if you don't have the confidence to ask them, it sort of doesn't work out. Right? So, as we sort of build our professional online profile through LinkedIn and so on, I think it's also about aligning it with our personal sort of ambition as well, right? And it's linked.
Right. And the marketplace has become global. You cannot, if you are looking for business or jobs, remote jobs in other countries, you cannot be present there. You cannot go there and showcase your experience. So LinkedIn or other social medias are the place that you can be present, you can show your expertise. And so you should leverage the platform that you have.
Exactly.
And the best thing about these platforms is that they are free.
Of course.
Right? It's very free. You can connect with anyone from anywhere in the world, with big companies, big CEOs, right? So if you can be present there, maybe you have expertise where you'll be able to help Google with something, right? But if they do not know about who you are, what you do, they will not be able to, seek you out.
Of course.
So you'll always have to be present, and LinkedIn is the way to go.
It is, and I think more and more decision makers are there. There's so many people not just could hire you, but maybe you can collaborate with. I mean, even in terms of Nepal, you see that now more decision makers, more CEOs, more entrepreneurs are on LinkedIn. Even a lot of people from that are bureaucrats and from the government are on LinkedIn. So that's the perfect place to showcase what you do, right?
Right. So you do not need a pass to visit the Google office. You do not need a pass to get into a ministry office and talk to
and that's the best thing about technology, right?
So it has brought everyone in one place. And now if you want to sign, if you want to show your expertise, you should be active, you should be mindful, you should be strategic about it. But also one thing that I don't like about a lot of people who are rushing into LinkedIn is they want results fast. So that has been one of the things that I do not like, because it will give you results in the long term, and it might not come in the way that you foresee, but if you look at it as a not just going and getting clients or getting opportunities, but making connections, understanding people, meeting people, then your LinkedIn journey would be also easy. You'll feel easy to post also about yourself, and the results, they'll come if you do consistently what needs to be done.
I agree.
Right. So just before you talked about the global Nepali diaspora, the community you are building, I want to also connect the LinkedIn journey with the community that you are building. First, tell me about what the Great Nepali Diaspora is and how LinkedIn has helped you in your journey in building that community.
Sure. So the Great Nepali Diaspora is basically a community of global Nepali professionals. So Nepalis that are outside Nepal, all professionals in all parts of the world. I started it about 2.5 years ago. And it started off from this feeling that a lot of Nepalis will share, right? Where we have these biases or negative things about being Nepali that really have been hurdles for us, right? Just as an example, we have this belief that if you share your idea with a Nepali, they'll just take it, they'll just make something from that idea and use it, right? Or or things like if you tell Nepalis, they're just good at talking. They don't. There's no action, right? So things like this, right? And these have been, generations of us have been talking or saying these things, but every time we say it, it's sort of negative, right? And for me, I think I've obviously been grown up here, worked here, but lived around the world, and I've seen how networks work, right? How you see that from really good schools, or you see that from really good workplaces where there is this connection, and that sort of really benefits the community as a whole. And what I had seen is, even though I lived in the US for so long, or Canada or Singapore, there are groups of Nepalis, but we never really talk about professional work, right? I never really enjoyed, sharing about my work on Facebook because it's full of family and friends, right? It felt like too awkward to talk about, your professional self in that bits, right? So in terms of how LinkedIn is connected is 2.5 years ago, I really, it was, that's when I really, really felt this need for something. And I shared my ideas on LinkedIn. And, it was just some random post, no sort of objective, just almost like venting out. Right. And what happened is a lot of people around the world, Nepalis and non-Nepalis, started responding, right? That they sort of felt that as well, where, Nepalis, especially around the world, they didn't feel like they belonged anywhere. There was no, we Nepalis don't really talk about how I can help you, or how we can collaborate on a deal and things like that, right? And then still there's the gender at play and so many different things. The response was so strong, so incredible, that I actually wanted to figure that out. I didn't know what it was. There was just this positive energy that it's hard for me to explain what that is. But just the level of engagement and just everybody wanting to be part of something, right? So I quit my full-time job and started doing this, and it's evolved from an idea to what's become a platform. It spread to at some point we had 50 chapters around the world in places like Australia and Dubai, and so many places in Europe and US and so on. And it's just started with an idea, right? And over time we've been able to say, okay, this is where maybe we can plug in our expertise. This is what we can do. But it's almost been like a work in progress, but publicly on LinkedIn.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah. One of the benefits of posting something, your idea in LinkedIn, is it is also a testing ground.
Of course.
Where you can get feedback on your thought process. Maybe you will get other ideas from there, and you can test the validity of the idea.
Of course.
How far you can go with it, right?
Right.
And so that I think when you did post about the Nepali professionals out there outside Nepal, you didn't think about building a community when you first did, but slowly it developed. So when you are doing things in LinkedIn, posting ideas, sharing your knowledge, there's a different way that helps you bring your career or your life can take a different turn.
Right.
And you'll have a better, I think, I can fairly say that with the passion that you work, that you are enjoying that the work that you are doing, and that started from LinkedIn.
Of course.
So LinkedIn is the connector
It has
with
been.
your
It's been like the you said a big weapon. So I agree. It has been such a big component of building community, and I think there's other factors like timing and all of that. But I think just in terms of the channel, it's been incredible. I feel like I'm already a LinkedIn ambassador because I talk about it so much.
Right. Sure. So let's also talk about Momo VC.
Of course.
So what it is and what you do in there.
Sure. So Momo VC is an early stage venture capital fund. Started it recently. And Momo, especially for Nepalis, we know what it is, but it's not food for us, right? It's this feeling of comfort, feeling of home. So with the Great Nepali Diaspora, it's basically professionals from all industries, doctors, engineers, lawyers, students, creatives, all kinds of people, and then the in-person elements are networking events, and then inside there's mentoring and programs, right? So a lot of focus that that we've given has been to entrepreneurship in Nepal and around the world. We've run incubators, brought Nepali founders with connected them to investors, mentors, done all of that. And now with Momo VC, we can write a check. We can actually support them financially as well. And the funniest thing, while talking about community and building a brand is even though I on a personal level, I wanted to build the fund way before I wanted to build a community. Right, that was sort of one of my like personal wish list, right? But the community came first, all of it. But now, as I start working on the fund, the fact that people have seen me work with the building the community, the Great Nepali Diaspora, has been so incredible. Like sometimes where just as an example, people would be like, "Oh, I've seen how you worked, how much hard work you've put to build that community and bring people together," and so they're supporting Momo VC because they've seen my work with the community, and sometimes it's even on LinkedIn, right, where they haven't even met me in person, which is incredible, right? Where one thing is, of course, that you can just be on LinkedIn or on social media and just give fluff, right? It's so easy to make up stuff and be like, "Oh my God, I've impacted 100 people. I've done," like, it's so easy. We can all do that, but I think if people can see that. Yes, you have to talk about yourself, but you back it with your work. That's always true with life anyways, right? So if you talk about yourself, that's step one. But if you back it with work that showcases that you've done that much or actually even better, then that builds trust, right? So people don't see you as just anybody, but somebody that can deliver as well, right? And that helps.
Right. So you should also back up your words with the proof
of course,
of the work that you have done.
Of course. And there's two schools of thought, right? Especially in the Nepali context, I think most of us have grown up believing that you shouldn't talk about yourself, but also you should not share things while they're in progress. You should finish it, complete it, and then celebrate it. And that's what you see a lot of people doing, right? Where they'll celebrate, if they got a job or, something that's like they share the result. I think it's also different to share an idea, share a work in progress, share, something that's half baked.
Right.
It gives you that validation that, like you talked about, but it also opens up to criticism as well, right? It's sort of, you are vulnerable because people, are going to comment on it as well, right?
Yeah, so when you are building something and when you are exposing what you are doing to the world, you are also inviting collaboration, but also you are inviting feedback and
you should be ready
comments,
for
right?
that,
Yeah.
right?
And the same thing with the podcast that we are doing as well. So it started, due to LinkedIn, the connections that I was able to build, and I was able to approach people, and this is a work in progress, and it's an experiment where I thought, as a Nepali, as a South Asian, there is not many or very few accounting podcast, but those are also regional. And could we, as an experiment from Nepal, be someone who could deliver a thing of a global nature, right? And so this is also a work in progress, and I do get some appreciations, but I also get feedback about what things I might be doing wrong, and you should take it as it is, right? A person
with a grain of salt.
Yeah. A person coming from Nepal, whose English is a second language, who has not had too much exposure in the global arena, that thing you should understand, but you should also look into how far you can go.
Of course.
Because this will snowball, right? And we have come to the 20th episode, slowly building like this, and I'm so happy that you are here on the 20th
No, and I'm
the 20th
happy
episode.
to be here, Sushilji. And one thing, on record that I want to say is, I've followed part of your journey, right? And I'm really excited that you're also pushing, out of your comfort zone, right? In terms of everything you're trying to do through the podcast and everything. So, from my end, you have my congratulations. I think I see the work that you're putting in, to get out from that comfort zone on LinkedIn and on the podcast. So good job.
Thank you very much. Why I wanted to share my journey is that it started on LinkedIn with an idea, and we have come far, right? 20 episode is quite far, and we intend to go to 200 episodes. But this was made possible through LinkedIn and sharing of ideas and making connections, right? And this has been your journey as well. LinkedIn is quite near to my heart as a platform that has provided me with opportunities, though no one gave me the opportunity, but I was able to extract that opportunity with the help of LinkedIn, right? And so I want other people also to help them in their career, or they might have goals with their business. Just one thing, one of my pet peeves is, don't be too opportunistic. Opportunity will come when they come, but don't go and ask for opportunity or demand opportunity.
Don't be entitled.
Right. So a lot of people, I find, they want things from you, but if you go with the mind of collaboration, what I can give you, rather than what I can get from you, whatever you give, it will come back. It might take time, it might come from the other side, other places, right? But you should first share your ideas. You should be open to giving first. Then it will come back, and you'll be able to grow in your professional and also personal career.
Exactly, and it's a long-term sort of thing, right? I think sometimes people are entitled and ask for things because they feel like, okay, it's a transaction. I just want to benefit. I just want to gain something, and I'm out, right? But if you think of it as, like I said, a career, years and years, I think, the kind of conversations you're having, the kind of connections you're making over time are going to pay off, right? You don't really even have to really think about it if you're just open-minded, and if you have that collaborative mindset.
Right. You have perfectly summed it up. But before we say a goodbye in the podcast, is there anything else you'd like to add for someone who is just beginning out and trying to figure out what LinkedIn is and how to go about it?
Sure. So everybody that doesn't have an account, please start it. Somebody that has it, don't overthink it. And one thing that I want to say is, the world is full of these thought leaders, right? People that might be amazing, might not be amazing. What we all need are humans, right? Where it could be a young student, it could be somebody that's starting out a career, early stage career person, and so on. And we want to hear views from everybody, right? I am so tired of so-called thought leaders that are just almost like a copy-paste post and copy-paste thoughts, right? We all want to see and interact with fresh ideas and fresh thoughts. So I think there's such an opportunity for actually people that are not boxed.
Right. So there's always opportunity. We tend to think that everything's been said, everything's been done, but yes, everything's might be have been done or said, but there's a little bit of you that could you could add to that.
Of course.
So with that thought, thank you very much for joining me today, Pritijit. Thank you very much. I hope to see you again and share another milestone with you. So thank you very much.
No worries at all. Thank you.